With the 9th pick in the NBA draft, the Dallas Mavericks selected who they hope to be their point guard of the future, Dennis Smith. And Smith's calling card is his athleticism combined with his ability to get to the basket. It seems like this guy can beat defenders one-on-one in his sleep. And you'll see these defenses in college, they are bringing multiple help guys trying to stop him from getting to the rim, and he just gets there anyway. He has a low dribble, but he also has quite a burst to him with his ability to change speeds as well as just get in the air. And if we look at his fit with these Dallas Mavericks, I think there's quite a lot to be intrigued about. If we look at Rick Carlisle's offense, and not all these plays are going to result in a basket, but the emphasis on player movement, ball movement, guys setting screens for each other, cutting to the basket, it's all there. And it's going to be really interesting to see how Rick Carlisle acclimates a guy who at times could perhaps have some more simple offense run for him with pick and rolls, but to have the foundation the Mavericks already have, it could be pretty exciting. And I wouldn't say the Mavericks have been loaded with talent the past couple of seasons, but even so, in 2014, they were the 3rd best offensive team in the league. 2015, they were 5th. 2016, they were 11th. These guys have always been at least a good offensive team, and they haven't really had a creator like what we hope Dennis Smith can be. And now, let's get a little deeper into this, and I'm going to show you a couple of situations with this team and what would happen if Dennis Smith was the guy with the ball in his hands. Right here, JJ Barea gets a screen from Dirk. Now if we freeze it, look at all that open room he has to just attack the basket. Now, what happens with JJ Barea on this play, and what happens with Dennis Smith, I presume are two drastically different things, because Smith can get a head of steam and go towards the rim. JJ Barea is forced to take a mid-range jumper that doesn't go in, and now they're forced to do something else. This time we have Yogi Ferrell. And right here, I mean, look, Thon Maker is an okay defensive player very early into his career, but with Smith's ability to just get defenders leaning to one side and then burst right to the rim, I have to assume something different happens than Ferrell having to take the ball out. And I don't know why Dirk passed out of the switch there, but they eventually get a bucket. But imagine if Dennis Smith is in that same situation. What happens? He probably just goes right by Thon Maker to the rim like he does on this one. Another situation here, our friend Yogi Ferrell once again does not have the speed and athleticism to really get through two guys trying to defend him like this, so he's forced to take a shot that not 100% comfortable with. I think you know what I'm getting at this point. Dennis Smith is going to have opportunities that these other guys on this Mavericks team have had, but he's actually going to be able to do something else with it, because his abilities of just getting that little bit of space that he needs to where he can then do something. I mean, I think Rick Carlisle is going to have a lot of fun with Dennis Smith and his offense. But of course, there is playmaking when it comes to this stuff as well. You can't just be a scorer. And if we look at the Mavericks roster, well, immediately Dirk is the one who stands out. I'm pretty sure every single point guard ever would love to have a guy like this as their power forward who, the defense, even if you are paying attention to him, there's a decent chance he's still going to drop it in anyway, and he's always going to be providing spacing, even if he's not necessarily scoring. Now, how much longer is Dirk actually going to be a member of this Mavericks team? Who knows? His age is definitely up there, but Dennis Smith will be enjoying having one of the best shooters the NBA has ever seen in the starting lineup with him every single game. And the pick and pops that these two could have could be something really special. I mean, if you remember what Rick Carlisle was able to do with just Monte Ellis and the couple of seasons that those guys were playing together, imagine what he's going to do with Dennis Smith. Now, hopefully Smith's playmaking abilities step up while Dirk is actually still in the NBA, because that could be really special to see. But we also have to look at Smith's ability to play in the pick and roll and play with an athletic big man. How many alley-oops is Nerlens Noel going to get from Dennis Smith? I want to counter throughout the season because it could get pretty damn high. With Smith's ability to draw help defense and catch a guy at the rim. And I guarantee that Rick Carlisle is already drawing up ways for Nerlens Noel to put up 12 to 13 points a game of nothing but just passes from Dennis Smith. Nerlens' day is going to be made a lot easier with Smith's ability to draw attention from a defense. But when we're talking about drawing attention to the defense like Smith can do, Dallas is always spreading the floor with three-point shooters, and it's an emphasis of their team. Guys like JJ Barea, who have been kind of like unsung heroes for the Mavericks the past few seasons. There's Seth Curry, who at least has one more year left on his contract to where he can be constantly spreading the floor for Dennis Smith. In Rick Carlisle's offense, spacing is one of the emphasis. So Smith is going to have all the room in the world to operate, and there's going to be a lot of shooters for him to kick out to. I've already mentioned Dirk. There's also Wesley Matthews, a guy who, sure, the injury has not treated him well, but his three-point shooting has finally come back to life to where at the bare minimum you have to care about him on the perimeter. But now we can talk about Harrison Barnes. And funny enough, I think this one might be the most awkward fit. Not to say it can't happen, and it probably will eventually, but I think there are some troubles that Dennis Smith and Harrison Barnes could have playing together. Sure, I think there's potential for them in transition, of course, but a lot of Harrison Barnes' baskets this season were off of isolations, and a lot of those isolations were in like the mid-range or, this type of play here, just holding on to the ball. I'm very interested to see if Barnes can have more opportunities off ball, cutting to the rim and things like that. I guarantee you that Rick Carlisle is going to find ways to make his offense more dynamic and more dynamic for Harrison Barnes besides just isolations. Dallas didn't have many creators this previous season, so it's not like Barnes was ever going to get that open because the defense could always just pay attention to him. But now if you have a guy in Smith who's super athletic and can attack the basket whenever he wants to, it's going to be interesting. But we also have to talk about Smith's outside shot. Shot around 36% in college, and he shows confidence when rising. We don't know how much of an impact his shot is going to make right when he enters the NBA, but that's going to be a big one to determine just how impactful he's going to be. We've seen in a guy like John Wall, on his mid-range jumper has made his life attacking the basket and so much easier because defenses constantly back up off of him. So I am very excited. I think the Mavericks already have a good foundation when it comes to ball movement, player movement, spacing, and I think Dennis Smith can be the guy they need, a creator. But I also think the Mavericks are the type of team that he needs. He's got the right coach, he's got the right players around him, and I am very excited to see how this unfolds.